Okay, guys, I was up all night. My brain wouldn't shut off, and I kept on hearing in my head cabin fever, 1800s cabin fever. Because we think about cabin fever and we think, or SADS, isn't it what it's called? You know, where you don't get enough sunlight and people get into depression and, you commit suicide. But my mind was going to a different place, thinking about it's just all of this stuff was just floating through my mind. I just couldn't sleep. So I started doing a search in this morning. What was the real cause of cabin fever? Anyways, what were the leading causes of illnesses back in the 1800s? The people that were farmers and stuff that were stuck, because I live in a very cold climate, and we get up to 8 months to 9 months worth of very cold weather. Really heavy winter for at least 7 to 8 months out of that. And we get stuck really in our houses. And there are a lot of illnesses that come from being stuck in the house for long periods of time. So what we do is usually here in Canada, as soon as the sun is out, our shorts are on and we're in the yard and we're lying on blankets, just sunbathing and touching the earth and renewing ourselves. We are a battery, right? Literally, we're made from clay. God told us that. But we're also an electrical system, right? So we have a battery charger. And that battery charger is the actual earth and the sun. And it charges our battery. When we're spent many, many months inside a home where we're not actually touching the earth and we're not having the sun touch us, our battery drains. And it drains and it drains and drains. And that's why you get colds and flus during the winter time, because our battery has changed. And we are also bringing in a lot more pollution. We're eating foods that we shouldn't be eating. And we are stuck in a climate where we're getting artificial heat. And if you have many people in your home, say you are in an apartment and you got 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, but you have you have 3 or 4 kids. You got mom and dad, maybe you've got your grandma staying with you, right? So even in a 3-bedroom home apartment, there's a lot of people that have like 7, 8 people in it, and they're being stuck right now in that. So what happens in that environment? You start to, with that many people in it, you start to get moist and bacteria and stuff like that start to grow, right? So anyways, started thinking about cabin fever. So I found this great article, and it's called the term cabin fever, and it's talking about what, because we just think of it as being that, that SADS, but it's not what the original meaning of it, why they said it. There truly was a fever that went with cabin fever. So that's what I wanted to explore. What was going on in the days when these people were stuck in their homes and they weren't visiting other people. So it wasn't something that you were catching outside of your home. We're talking about farmers that may have, visited their neighbors 2 or 3 times a year and went into, a local store to get supplies a couple of times a year and really stayed in their own home. And especially when the ones that had the bigger families, right? Well, they got sick. They got things that we call communicable diseases today, but they weren't communicating with other people. They weren't going around doing that, right? But yet, they called them communicable diseases because it went from one member of the family to the other. But could that be truly that they were just all in the same environment? Not that they were catching it from one person to the other, but the environment itself was causing illnesses. So I had to do a bit of research or just digging, because everything that you look up medical right now goes to the virus that's going around right now. The date right now is May 3rd, 2020, so you know what's going on. I'm going to be sticking away from certain subject words because it will get this information will get lost in translation, and they will probably take the video down, because I really believe that I've stumbled across something that is about to happen. They know it's about to happen, and they're causing it to happen, okay? Cabin fever is a pneumonia that occurs when someone is stuck inside for prolonged periods of time, unable to get outside to fresh air or interact with other human beings, which is a very vital force of life that you need today. The oldest known use of the term cabin fever to mean a type of claustrophobia caused by being forced into a period of isolation occurring 1900s. It seems to have oriented in the North America the images of pioneers spending long winters by themselves on the Great Plains, where severe winters and distances from neighbors were truly isolated. They had cabin fever that they coined, generally referring to typhoid fever. And as I'm reading through this, what is typhoid? I guess we want to look into that, right? Okay, typhoid fever, early illnesses, early signs. A fever that starts slow, increasing daily, possibly reaching as high as 104 to 105. Headaches, weakness and fatigue, muscle aches, swelling, dry cough. Loss of appetite and weight loss, abdominal pain, diarrhea and constipation, rash or extreme swelling of the abdomen, okay? Later symptoms are delirium, and I guess it's called the typhoid stare, where people just sort of stare there. Their brain is like not working. So those are pretty crazy symptoms, considering nobody was getting, this is not something, if they were getting this in the cabin and they hadn't been around anybody, that means that this had to do with the environment. And as I was looking through all of these different illnesses that struck people back in like the 1900s and 1800s, like typhoid fever and diphtheria and croup, which is another one which was very common in that time because of the dry air and stuff. These are all symptoms of pollution. It's the pollution that a body makes, a human makes, why they've been in, like you get fungus. I remember going into a girlfriend's house one time and went into her bedroom helping her clean, and she moved the dresser, and behind the dresser there was mushrooms growing. When you start to have a lot of people living together, you're going to find that it's very moist, it's very humid, and that's where bacteria, fungus grow, which causes these illnesses. So I guess the reason why I'm saying, like, remember just the symptoms of the main one that they were saying, that what they were calling, they did not have tests. So all of these illnesses that they were saying were probably all very similar to the same thing, just affected people different in different regions, okay? But remember the symptoms. A fever of almost 105, headaches, weakness, fatigue, muscle aches, swelling, cough, lack of appetite, abdominal pain, diarrhea or constipation, rash, and a swollen abdominal. These are all symptoms that were said to do with what's going on here 2020, May 3rd, what's going on in the world, that they're making us all stay inside for, because we don't want to get this. And so far, everybody's been pretty healthy. I don't know anybody who's gotten sick, but this is a recipe, what's happening, a recipe for disaster. You cannot tell me that Donald Trump and all these world leaders here, Trudeau, have not been advised. These people absolutely know. They have think tanks. Not just an old lady like me that's got Google or DuckDuckGo, but they got think tanks. They know this stuff. Yes, I've been looking into this stuff for like 30 years, so that's why I can make some of the connections. But they've got, supposed to be the top people for this kind of stuff. So why are they isolating the healthy. You see, you should isolate the sick away from the healthy. But if you isolate the healthy, especially in some of these places like in big cities where you really have small compartments where many people are sitting in. And it's strange because, we've had all of these immigrants that have come in, and they're going to be packed like sardines, these poor people, honestly. They're going to be packed like sardines, and we're going to see a breakout of things like this, typhoid fever. But now we're not going to call it typhoid fever. We're going to call it, what's going on right now. And we're going to say, they're going to say, now everybody needs to stay in some more. Look at all of it. And they are going to have real deaths. This is a event because you've got all the ingredients to have a huge outbreak of cabin fever and all the illnesses that come with cabin fever. Like I said, you're a battery. And over the winter, you are low. That's why they've got, people have looked into, I know when I was in the New Age, those are the kind of things that, I was into health. I looked into the health stuff. And it was like a grounding blanket and stuff like that, where you can get something where you actually put a wire into the ground, even for the winter, and you lie on it, put it on your bed, and it helps you keep your balance and keep your healthy during the winter time. Even some people have made burrows for themselves and stayed in it for long periods of time during the winter to try to get their electrical system balanced again and rejuvenate their battery. So I'm going to recommend that you get outside, you put your bare feet on the ground, you put your bum on the ground. You know how they're saying you're not allowed to sit anywhere? You're not allowed to go to a park, you're not allowed to sit on a beach? Because for you to recharge your battery, you need to be taking that blanket out there, and you need to be lying on the sun, and you need to be energizing yourself, bringing yourself back out of it. And if you don't do this, if you are going to continue to stay in your home with your family, even if it's just you by yourself, even if you're by yourself, you are going to get ill. And you're going to be part of this. And many people died from these symptoms. Many people, because remember, they've closed down the hospitals. Once they got you for this, they're going to put you on a ventilator. And we know that 80% of the people on the ventilator have been dying. So these are symptoms of being in the house. They know this. Everyone who has looked into anything that is organic knows this, that they are creating an epidemic, and it's going to be a big one. So when I hear Trump saying, we're waiting for the big one, it's coming, well, I've noticed that their timing has been off on all of what's been going on here. Okay, their timing has been off. I think that there was a virus in the beginning, and I think there is a virus that went around, but it hit here in Canada around November, December, and January. That's when people got a lot of the symptoms of that, virus that everybody's talking about, right? Here in Canada, like really sick. People had all of these things, this high fever and, all of these symptoms. They had all of that. It was like they knew they were late. And then China came after that. Truly, it came after that. So what was happening in China was happening here in Canada at the same time. So, and from what I saw, it was happening in the United States at the same time as well, because I remember even one of my YouTube channels that I watch, he was so sick, but he wanted to get his message that he did his broadcast lying down in a bed. He was that ill. And many of you guys who listen to me right now were ill at that time. Think back, okay, how ill you were. So I think that they missed their mark. They didn't mean that to happen so quickly because they weren't ready and they weren't set up so that if they would have had the perfect timing, and then people would have gotten whatever this was, which was kind of a cabin fever, maybe added with some more things that were going on, like chemtrailing and, all the stuff that I've been talking about throughout the months. But it came early. And then we've had this long period of time where everybody's been fine. And now it's dragging into good weather. I know here it's been great weather. And in the United States, there's been some great weather too. So people are starting to get out, so they didn't get the epidemic that they were hoping for. So they're locking down a little bit harder, making it so that you can, arresting moms in the playgrounds, because they don't want you guys touching the earth, your battery charger, to be out, because they missed it. They missed their time. So now they're trying to force us to stay in. They're trying to make the regulations stronger because they want this to happen. They're looking for this to happen, but I think they missed it. But they're still trying. They're still trying. So I'm going to say, pass this video on, people. Pass this on to your loved ones. Copy it. People need to get this information of what happens to you when you are stuck in your home for long periods of time, whether it's summer or not. It's not going to be as severe right now because the sun is killing a lot of the bacteria and people are opening their windows and stuff like that. So it's not that bad, but it will still happen in those places where they're really condensed and they're really, really making it difficult for them to get out, to even leave. Like some states, you're not even allowed to leave your threshold. They want this to happen. They're looking for this to happen. And for you to stay okay during this time, get outside in your bare feet, sit on the ground, sit up against a tree. A tree are vital. There's the energy that comes off of a tree to rejuvenate you. It's palpable. You can feel it. You can taste it when you're leaning against an old tree. That's why they don't want you there. They don't want you there. And then, of course, after that, they're going to want to give you the vaccination, right? And they're telling everybody, oh, it's a virus, it's a virus. Everything that I've seen and I've looked about viruses are caused by fungus, parasites, and pollution, air pollution. They're all environmental things. It's all from us sitting in our homes. Okay? Please spread this information so that more people will get out. And especially the children need to play outside. Their batteries are little. They need more charging. And that's why when they get sick, when our children finally get sick, you will see a huge death spike. Because our children have they need to be recharged more. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. I love you guys. Stay in love and light and stay close to the Lord. Talk to you later.